Welcome to the 24th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival, one of the world's largest and oldest Jewish cultural arts events. We want to thank all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, and all of you film lovers, but especially our presenting sponsors, SAGE, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education, and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their continued support throughout all of these years. I'm Rabbi Efrat Zarin Zohar, the executive director of SAGE, and I'm really excited to be moderating a virtual conversation with director Yair Agmon and director Tal Becher of the movie Like a Beating Heart, which is premiering at this year's festival. And thank you all for joining us. So, before we delve into the film, can both of you share a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, where you currently live, what led you to work in film? And why don't
Okay.
you guys decide which one will take the first question?
Yeah, I'm the producer of the movie, not the director, but okay.
Oh, excuse me, producer Tal
We're
Becher.
partners, but I'm the producer. Yeah.
Yofi.
So
So,
Yair will begin.
Okay, so I'm Yair Agmon. I'm very happy to be here. I apologize for my poor English. We cannot travel now with the virus, so I don't have any opportunity to talk English. I live in Tel Aviv. I have two kids, Chaya and Noach, and my wife is Shira, and I'm a filmmaker and a writer. And Tal was my commander in the IDF.
hmm.
That happened also, yes.
So Tal, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be working with this film.
Hmm. So I'm from Moshav, it's between Haifa and Tel Aviv. It's called Tal Lazar. I'm married to Shunit, and I have also a little daughter named Ronnie. And actually, I met Yair at the army. I was his commander. And then after, I think, 10 years maybe? No, maybe less. We met again at the Sam Spiegel Film School. And since then, we're partners. Actually, Yair started working on this film before we were partners. But since the partnership God's life. So we've been working together on this film. Um, that's it.
It's great. Super. And so now I'm going to sort of switch back and forth between you. So Yair, the rawness, the vulnerability you share is so very real. And as I mentioned before, when we were talking briefly before we began filming, it's so beautiful when someone authentically and deeply shares their journey in the world with virtual strangers like me, right? We didn't know each other until we popped on this video. So it's such a beautiful thing because in a sense you're opening up your chest, you're pulling out your heart, you're presenting it to all of us, and you're offering this story, this journey that you went on out of a great deal of pain, and yet there are so many people in the world that have journeys that start from pain. So it, like I said, it sort of almost normalizes this great human experience and allows people to journey with you and maybe also begin to address some of the things that they're going through the things that you're addressing in the film. So that vulnerability, that rawness was really on camera. And I wanted to ask you deeper. Can you you speak about it a bit in the movie itself, but what compelled you to share your story? How do you feel now that it's out there? So where did it start and now that it's out there, those
Okay,
contrasts?
thank you for your kind words. And I will say that to be a filmmaker, it's a very arrogant thing. Like you tell people, sit quiet and shut your mouth and listen to me, and this is what you need to see. So I think if this is the deal, uh, for me as a filmmaker and also as someone who loves movies, when someone come and say, this is me, this is my story, take it, this is the true. So it opens my heart, and also for me as a filmmaker, it's like a deal. I need to tell in documentary, and especially in this one. This film was born from my understanding that Rabbi Nachman, who is in a weird way the most powerful rabbi in Israel, even though he died 200 years ago in Ukraine, he is very powerful rabbi in Israel, and many people don't have a clue what is like the who is he, what he is offer, and for me this was the start, and the way to tell this story was through the, I don't know how to say it right in English, silent birth, like we have
Mhm.
like very
A, s-
hard,
a stillborn child is
yeah,
what you had. A child that was born stillborn, which
okay,
means born met, be'etzem,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a big tragedy for me and my wife. It happened like almost 4 years ago now. Wow. And this event, I was in a big dikaon. How you say dikaon?
Depression.
Yes.
Depression.
It's good that to not know this word. I was in depression, and in those days, Rabbi Nachman really helped me, even though I'm not religious.
Mhm.
I'm ex-religious. Datlash. I don't know how to say it in English.
Someone who you grew up in a religious family, but then you
Yeah,
left with lots of questions.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Not a lot of questions. I left.
Okay.
But in those weird days, Rabbi Nachman really helped me because I felt, as you said about my film, I felt about Rabbi Nachman. He is open rabbi. He talks about his depressions. He talks about his charada. How you say charada?
His
Anxious.
anxieties and
Anxiety.
depressions. Yeah,
Yes,
he is someone that historically seemed to have suffered from a lot of depression
yeah,
and
yeah, he
anxiety.
died
Yeah.
in 38, and he lost his wife and his children, two children, and everybody hated his Hasidut, his community. And he talks about it a lot and write about it a lot, and he gives also tips how to handle this miserable life.
Mm.
And for me, on those days, it was a redemption. It was like it really helped me, and this was my goal in this film, to help people understand what is the big deal of Rabbi Nachman, from a very personal, sensitive way. Not like listen, you need to listen to me, like this is the basic rabbi talks, in gentle way. Like I believe Rabbi Nachman, even though my journey to Uman was a big fail, Rabbi Nachman, I believe if he will watch this film one day, he will like it. So I hope I answer your question.
Yeah. And can I just ask one follow-up question? When you studied about Rabbi Nachman, I mean, the beauty of being an Israeli is that Hebrew is your natural language, not somebody who's living in the world of translations.
Yeah.
So were you reading Rabbi Nachman's materials by yourself? Were you taking a class? Were you learning with another rabbi that was teaching you about it? How did you just even find Rabbi Nachman? Like, yes, Nachman is on, like, it's spray painted on all kinds of walls all over Israel, but that doesn't mean people are sitting around reading his books. How did you find his work, and how did you learn it and then become transformed by it?
Rabbi Nachman is he's a big deal in Israel, and as you said, you can see stickers on grocery shops like Rabbi Nachman, and and also when I was like in my school, in my high school, we learned some of his text on his.
Also at the yeshiva, I guess, no?
Yeah. I was in the yeshiva. I learned about it, but it never like opened to me. I don't know how to say. Like I never really understood him. I read him as a teenager, but I didn't understand a thing. And then after like the tragedy, I had a friend that, and we were doing chavruta together. We were studying together, me and him. And he said, let's study Rabbi Nachman. And we just read his book, Likutei Moharan. It's a book of his talks to his students. And we read it. And in those days, it opened like I felt that okay, now I understand the shtick. I understand Rabbi Nachman. Now I get it. And
because
so
you had lived some of the tragedy that he lived.
yeah,
So suddenly these words were really meaningful to you, and no, words that nogea, right, come from the heart, hit the heart, right?
you
So
need to be
that's
broke to understand Rabbi Nachman, and I am a very broke person. You can ask Tal.
that's what I'm about to do, actually. Tal,
Yes.
how do you feel about working on such a personal story? What were the important elements for you in the production of this film? And I also want to know, were you with Yair in the Ukraine?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
You were only with the photographer, no? Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, it met me with a lot of points. We had also a silent birth or whatever in a mature stage, but we have also this kind of stuff. And then I discovered that it happened so much, like for 30% or so. And it was a shocking. And I'm also coming from a religious family. And of course, I heard about Rabbi Nachman and had the chance to study him a bit. So with a lot of points, I related to this film. Yeah.
So that's what made it actually personal for you also.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
And what were the important elements for you in producing the film? Like, what did, as a, maybe help us understand your role as a producer, what you're able to do with the film, and what's your part of it?
Explain something before Tal answer. This film wasn't a channel film. In Israel, you don't have many options to produce a film. You have like 3 documentary channels that you can produce film, and you have the funds. And this film get only one fund and very low amount of money. And this film wasn't supposed to be born. This is true, because he didn't get any money and he didn't get any channel. And we send the applications a year after year, and we didn't get the money. And Tal one day told me, listen, let's do it ourselves. Let's do this film ourselves, and it was in the Corona time, during the Corona time. And he said, we can do, איך אומרים לשווק את זה?
Marketing.
To sell it.
To sell it, right, to make it saleable, right.
Alone. And now you need to tell how you produce it, Tal.
Yeah, thanks, Yair. But Yair is the spirit behind it all. He says, this is Rabbi Nachman movie, and we need to do it with belief also, with belief only. So, but this
so
was
the 2 ex-religious guys had to find a lot of emunah, a lot of faith, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of belief in the possibilities. I find the irony. I just want to say, guys, for these lo dati'im that you say you are, yalla, keep going.
You get the point. You understood everything. Then you understood Rabbi Nachman. This is Rabbi Nachman.
Exactly. Look, every human being lives with faith. Ultimately, like, honestly, let's admit that there's a certain faith in getting in a car and driving, that the other drivers aren't going to crash into you. We all live with faith of a variety of different things in all our lives. And the key question is, what kind of faith are we going to go for? Where are we going to find, what are we going to put our faith in? So that's just a beautiful little side note that we've all kind of uncovered together. So Tal, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I dive in after the shooting and at the middle of the process, of the editing process. And yeah, the main challenge, I think, was to make it with this low budget. and finally to like screen it at the Corona time. I think this was the the main challenges, and I think we did it pretty good. We made an online screening, like at Facebook page in the Facebook. People like bought tickets with a special website we opened, nice. And then yeah, and like hundreds of people in every screening. It was amazing for a small documentary film about yeah, like you said, a personal story about Rabbi Nachman, and it was amazing.
And have you found that other people, obviously in Israel, most likely at first, but maybe others who are seeing the movie, who themselves have experienced a stillbirth or a miscarriage or some other kind of personal tragedy, have they kind of said, wow, have you experienced that they've felt that this movie spoke to them and helped them, or that's really not been the reaction because people are concentrating more on the Rabbi Nachman journey that you took?
I think Rabbi Nachman was like the main
subject in a way.
Yeah, like people wanted to watch this film because Rabbi Nachman. And I want to say another thing. We had a very, very big luck because we
right, I forgot about it.
Published the film around August, and every year in Rosh Hashanah,
yes,
thousands of people flying to Uman to the Jewish festival of Rabbi Nachman, and in those days, the Israeli government tried to prevent it, tried to cancel the flight.
Because of the coronavirus, right.
The corona. And every day, all the news, all the open pages of all the channels was Uman, Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nachman. And
everybody talking about that, about Uman and Rabbi Nachman all day.
and there is no cinemas, there is no films. And one film is online and he's saying Rabbi Nachman. So I had like a very big commercial
free commercial advertisements for your film.
It was crazy. So many people wanted to see what is the big deal, what's going on in Uman. Everybody wants to go to Uman. The government trying to not let them fly. What's going on then? And I think many people also were disappointed because my trip in this film is a failed trip because I didn't get what I wanted, and I ran out in the middle of Rosh Hashanah from Uman. So I think this was like the issue. This was the reason why people watched it, and the most of the comment we get was about this issue.
Interesting. And do you feel? I mean, you mentioned that it's a failed trip because ultimately your expectation was that you were going to have what? Like, what did you go there? Like, did you, you had an expectation, right? You didn't obviously have that expectation fulfilled. So if you can name the expectation, we know it wasn't fulfilled if we saw the movie, but then what do you believe you actually did get? I mean, apart from making a movie, obviously, but no journey has no outcome, right? In other words, to put it positively, every journey there's an outcome, even if it's not what you expected, right? So if you can describe your expectations and then maybe compare that to really what you did walk away with in the end.
קודם כל, שכוח, you are a Breslever, officially. You're talking like a Breslever. But I think my expectations was something soft, because Rabbi Nachman for me is something soft, something you can say it's soft like a rach. I don't know how to. Maybe it's.
Keep talking, because then I'll understand the tom of what you're saying.
Something gentle, not rude, not violent. Something very, very hesitating. Rabbi Nachman for me was someone who helped me in the worst in the horrible time of my life. And I was believed that when I will get to Uman, I will get it in a big way. Like I will be in a crowd that everybody have their own Rabbi Nachman, because Rabbi Nachman is a personal rabbi. Every Hasidic talks about him in my Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nachman Shali. And I think in Uman something is very, very, very rude, very gas. How you say gas, Becher?
It's
Rude.
yeah,
Not rude,
it's a
not
hard one
rude.
to translate.
Like physically,
It's
מחוספס,
rough. You're saying
rough.
that the contrast between the softness, the embrace that you felt from Rabbi Nachman, and then the roughness of the crowd, of the noise, of the dirt, of the tekassim, like all the services and the, and again, it's you went in a sense from a very personal feeling, it sounds like, to suddenly having to share it with the masses, and it
So
didn't work for you.
this is why what I try to tell, but I don't have
Yeah,
the
that's why I'm helping.
yeah.
But I'm glad you're agreeing that I'm saying what you
No,
wanted to say.
this is exactly what I wanted to say. Like
Yeah.
it was a big clash between I imagined and the noise. It was so noisy and so dirty. And today I can say this is Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman, it's the deal, and this is also the life. The life is the deal between softness and roughness. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I'm trying to tell in this film. At the end of it, I have like a very long monologue that I'm trying to tell Rabbi Nachman's story. This is like his idea that there's success. There is no good trip or bad trip. Life is life, and the journey is a journey. And you said it, and I agree again. Like the journey is always the right journey. Depend your observation about it, but I think this is like the main claim of the film. Also, the abortion me and my wife had, it's a part of my journey. This is my story. This is the road that I'm on it to understand myself and life. And Rabbi Nachman helped me to understand it.
Yeah. In other words, we're all journeyers, and as humans, we're gonna suffer. It's just the nature of being human if you live long enough, that's for sure. But how we choose to suffer and how do we choose to find some comfort for our suffering, that's really what's in our control. And really, essentially, wow, that's just such a huge thing to journey towards and to find out. Have both of you, I'm assuming, obviously, I mean, this is a stupid question now that I'm asking it out loud, but you must have shared this with your families, right? Both of your families, your wives and others in your lives, went through these tragedies with you, and you're sharing this film with them. How did they react? So maybe Tal, you start, because Yair is, we just had a long conversation. So
Yeah.
Tal, how did your family react to this movie that you were producing?
Yeah, I think that the beauty thing with this film that it's also a Rabbi Nachman thing, that everyone can find himself there or understand it. It's like the thing in Ukraine that was so messy and spiritual and hard and rough and harsh. I think because everybody can find himself in Rabbi Nachman. So there is at this event like many people, many kinds of people, and the viewers also. I think everyone, religious, non-religious, young, adults, everybody can see it. And my family also very like it. My wife, she's from a kibbutz. She's like, she's semi-Buddhist, actually. She's not related at all to the Judaism. And she liked the film very much. She understands it.
Great.
Complexity.
Is she studying Rabbi Nachman now? You're Buddhist,
No.
No, no need
not
to
quite
discuss
that far.
No, not that far. But
Not that far. But there's an opening. And Yair, how did
I,
your family, how did your wife and
um,
family?
for me, it was like a big issue because the opening of the film is footage that I filmed in the event itself. I want to say that I'm filming everything in my life. I'm filming my kids, I'm filming the birth, and I'm filming also the sad part of my life. I'm filming everything because my philosophy is that if you not have footage from something that happened to you, so your memory will build it in his way, and then you can be depressed, and then you can be you can harm yourself. I think footage from horrible event um, can set you. I don't know how to explain it, but can help you be clean in the way you memory yourself. I think maybe I don't know. In Hebrew, I'm really smart guy, but
I
but,
know.
but
I
English,
tried to speak, as I was speaking in Hebrew in Israel, I felt like I was like 5 years old again. So I totally get it.
yeah.
You're doing beautifully, honestly. We all understand exactly what you're saying.
Anyway, when I chose to use the footage from this event in my film, my wife was confused, and she asked me to see, and I have very horrible material rashes from the event, and we chose like something more around the event, the nurse talking,
Yeah,
and
things that weren't quite as directly horrible with lots of sobbing and lots of horror. Yes. Yeah.
but my wife knows that Rabbi Nachman, my way to Rabbi Nachman is this event, so she understands the importance of this footage, and we chose it together. So it helps to handle with this shot with these scenes.
Mhm.
But yet, many people who watch this film wrote her, and it wasn't so good. People are horrible. People, it's a horrible thing. They write thing. It was a conflict there after the film was screened.
Mhm. Meaning people criticized her for
No, they
allowing.
just send her a message. Oh, it was so hard to see you.
Oh, so she had to relive the whole thing all over again.
So
Yeah.
it
Hard.
wasn't so good, but
Wow. And so I wanted to ask you a few things before we kind of start to close down about some specific moments in the film that were intriguing. So there's a scene transition that was very touching. At around 33 minutes, there's a man who is crying and kind of screaming by the water. And then Yair, you ask, hey, what is that crazy guy doing? And then immediately after that, there's kind of a transition to a shofar blowing. And can you share a little more about the thinking behind that transition? Like what was going on there?
Bona, you are the first one who understand this moment. Shkoyach. No, really, it's a very first of all, it's the transition of the film because this is the moment um, I'm understanding that I need to leave Uman. This is
Mm,
and the shofar and the screaming. The screaming is a very Breslever thing. Rabbi Nachman told these people, I want you to be like animals who
shots in
um,
the wood.
miyalelot,
yeah, they're howling,
Howling.
howling
yes,
out whatever their emotions are. Yes.
howling in the woods, and many Breslevers um, howling. And in Oman, you can see very weird things, and you can see these things everywhere. And also the shofar, the whole idea of shofar in Rosh Hashanah is to wake up and
Mhm.
to it's like someone shouting on you. And I think in this in this specific second in the film, when I'm criticize someone who is real Breslover, so I think the audience also can feel that I have a problem in this trip, like as a hero of this story, and because this moment could be a beautiful moment. I could put
Mm-hmm.
it in a beautiful way, but
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm putting it in a problematic way, so the problem is me. I don't know if you get it, but
Right.
it,
The same thing that any person sees can be perceived one way by one person, another way by another person, because it's what we bring to the situation, not what the situation actually is.
exactly, and
So you're
I
right.
am
You could look at it positively. This man is fulfilling Rabbi Nachman's desire that we should all howl and scream and express ourselves and get our emotions out in the world. And yet for you, you're just looking at this going, okay, I'm out of here. Just, this is too
exactly,
much.
exactly,
Right.
and then,
And for you, it was almost the shofar cry that
yeah,
was sending you on a different journey than the one. Now it's journey part 2. It's not going to be right in the crowd. It's now going to be, I got to leave the crowd and go somewhere else.
exactly. And I talked before about the noise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I want you to feel the noise, like the that
Ah.
you have no silent in Uman. This is true, by the way. In Uman, you have no silence. Everything, everywhere you go, is people, trance music, shofar, shouting, people singing, someone with guitar. There is no silence, and in the way we go out of Uman, the first thing is silent. You can see
Mm.
the editing channels. שקט. עכשיו
Yeah.
שקט.
Interesting. That's like, now I'm sort of rethinking the film and really feeling that contrast. You know, one of the things I remember thinking about at the end of the film was, at the beginning, was that big guy that greeted you and gave you your housing. You know, you went up to him and he was such a sweet, like, you know, in Yiddish there's this term ziskite, you know, like a, just a sweet mituka, like he's like matok matok, this guy. And you can see that he's coming at this with such love, and he's so grounded in Rabbi Nachman's thinking and feeling and philosophy. And by the end, the guy is like exhausted and he's trying so hard to be, you know, kind of still happy and have a little emotion.
Joyful
But it's
somehow.
this poor guy, like, you know, you can see that in a way he has, you know, he is the servant to everybody else, right? Like, he's coming there and this is his job, right? I'm assuming he's earning some money from this. His job is to make sure you guys are all taken care of, but that's like really hard because everybody's like, there's this crazy crowd and everybody has their things, and these are not good living conditions. As you pointed out, you couldn't sleep, the food, you know, like it was just so, you know, there is this sense at the end, like I kind of wanted to just give this guy a hug and, you know, and see him in a different place where you could kind of almost take care of him instead of him taking care of everybody else, because he was such a good man, you know, like he just wanted you to have your wonderful experience, right? Like that was kind of his whole purpose.
Yeah, and Shemaya, his name is
Oh,
Shemaya.
Shemaya, right.
He gave the name, the film its name, because he talks about like a beating heart. He talks about for me, he is like the big, and if you will see the poster of the film, the poster is me riding on Shemaya, because he is my, he's amazing person and spiritually, very, he's like a Navi, a prophet. Um, and he talks so beautifully, and he doesn't earn money there. He just loves to cook and
Mhm.
to make people
Happy.
abroad. Yeah, he is amazing person, and I'm still like
You're in contact with him?
yeah, and we had a very small screening for the people of the film, the characters,
When it
because
was allowed.
it wasn't allowed to to gather together many people and watch a film, but we find a way outside the coffee in Tel Aviv, in the air, and he came from very ultra orthodox city in the
Mm-hmm.
בית
um,
שמש.
זה לא
אינו
בית
בית
שמש,
שמש?
זה
לא. לא.
בשטחים, זה
אה,
it's Shomron, like
Okay, somewhere in the territories. He
yeah, in
lives
the
in this very
territory.
ultra orthodox place. Yes.
Yeah, ultra orthodox in territories. He came to Tel Aviv and watched the film and hugged me afterwards. It was a very powerful experience for me, because as a filmmaker, when you take other people's stories and other people's lives,
Right.
it's a big responsibility. You want people to love them.
Yes.
You don't want people to hate someone after you show
Yeah,
him.
and you never know how they're going to react. You're right.
Exactly. But he likes himself. So
Oh, good. I'm good. I'm so glad, because he was a sweetie. So the final question, just to sort of wrap up, and this is part of the end of the movie as well. So Yair, in your explanation at the end of the film of Rabbi Nachman's story of the painting, you describe how all the things in our life make up the lines of the painting of our lives. And it's such a beautiful teaching to think about kind of the ups and the downs of life and how things go. And in those closing lines, you describe your pilgrimage to Uman, as you said, a failure. And looking back on the experience now that you're a few years out, and while it seems to have not been what you expected, what would you still describe it as a failure? And if not, then how would you redescribe it?
I I stick to the word fail, because I'll tell you a story. Someday, some woman asked me to join a fail night. I don't know how to say it, like a night that everybody, like there is 5 people standing on a stage in front of a lot of people and talking about a fail, how you say
Some
it?
failure in your life, some
Failure in your
mess
life.
up, right?
Yeah. And I was talked about like some story, and then the moderator asked me, "And what you learned from it?" And I said, "I wanted to tell about the fail, not what I learned from it.
Hmm.
So I want to stop here." And she asked again, but still, how you used it? And I think this is the problem. It's very um, capitalistic mind, that you need to use like, it's not a fail, you need to rebuild yourself out of it, you need to use it. And in my point of view, and I think also in Rabbi Nachman point of view, you can be like, for example, the abortion,
Mhm.
just bad thing, you know,
Right.
this is
Yes.
bad. And
Right.
many people ask me, yeah, but it makes you a stronger person. It makes you a brave person. It makes, yeah, but it's still like the main thing here, that you need to call the things in their names. And so it's very important to me, your question. It's very important to say that
Mm.
it was a fail, and this is
Yeah.
the story. I didn't use the fail to cancel the bad things and use it in good things to be something else. No,
Right.
this is bad, and bad is bad.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a very interesting perspective to point out. And as you say, it's certainly not a very, in our therapeutic way of looking at the world today, and maybe also with a sort of Western mindset of, everything should promote growth and everything should lead you to further success, and everything is a building block for something else. And what you're really arguing for is, no, it can be just painful, and it
I
can
hate
be
this. Yeah,
just be as it is, and
I
that's
can't
okay.
stand this mindset of using the bad experience to rebuild yourself, or something, because this is the way, the modern Western way to cancel the bad things in our lives.
Hmm. And you know what? That is very Rabbi Nachman, as you say.
Yeah,
He would go down into the depths of his depression, and but it's interesting because he wouldn't negate. I think the word you're really want to use is to negate the feelings, meaning it's as if they're not the feelings. To negate the feelings is wrong, but he also wouldn't, is another good English word, wallow, meaning just like an animal in a pool of water, just I'm just going to lie here and just do nothing about it, because as you know from your studies and as I know from reading and Tal also, Rabbi Nachman also took action because he felt that you as an individual, if you suffered from terrible things or depression, which he did, you still had to push yourself towards coming back to joy. You still had to you had to howl, you had to stand up and scream, you had to pray. There were things that you had to do so that you wouldn't stay there. But you're right, he never named it something else. He never said this isn't painful or, this is growthful. He just said you can't stay in the pain. You have a duty to move beyond it and go to a different place with it.
Yeah,
But that's a very subtle, but very important.
Rabbi Nachman said there is like a pasuk in the Bible, the God is in the fog. Okay, and Rabbi Nachman said
it's in the last week's parasha, by the way. Yes,
yeah, really.
In the Arafel, it's all about the Arafel, Mount Sinai, Har Sinai. Yeah, Har Sinai, the Arafel, the deep darkness that God is revealed within. That's, by the way, a big Hasidic teaching. Yes.
And Rabbi Nachman said you need to go to the fog, and it's not, the point is the fog is still a fog, and the God is in it.
Yes.
And the fog, he didn't cancel the fogness. Fogness? I don't know how you say.
Yeah, the darkness, the deep fog. No, yeah, he didn't cancel that. He exists with it.
This is it.
Yeah. That is a beautiful teaching. So really, this has been such a pleasure. I feel like I personally have grown from having the conversation with you, not just watching the movie. Lots of things to really think about in terms of how we deal with the struggles of our lives and how different teachers, I mean, Tal and Yair, through your movie, you were building on Rabbi Nachman's teachings, but you too were teachers and are teachers for us in how to handle the things that we're confronted with in life and what we can do with them and what power or agency we have to be able to live with them and go beyond them. So I really want to thank you both for such a stimulating and wonderful movie and conversation. And I wish you hatzlacha rabba rabba, like so much sort of success in bringing this into the world and for all of your filmmaking and your producing and all the work that you're doing. And really, chazak ve'amatz.
You were awesome.
Thanks so much. All right, guys, it's wonderful. And I hope we keep in touch. Take care. I hope we see more from you guys. All right. Take care.
Bye, Douglas.